Let's use some oven-baked clay to make one of these cute fall ghost figurines. And I'm going to start by just pulling off a whole section from the clay. And I've got these square pieces that are about the thickness I want it to be. So I'm going to start conditioning it, rolling it out, squishing it up, just making it more flexible so that I can mold with it. And one of the reasons I prefer the oven-baked clay for this type of project is it's just cleaner than the air-dry clay. It's smooth. It is easy to create smaller, finer details. Now that I've got it smoothed out into about a 4-inch circle-ish shape, and I'm going to use my little roller ball and my smaller rolling tools to just kind of smooth out any divots or cracks, bevel those edges a little bit, and now I've got a nice workable piece. To start shaping, I'm going to use this tinfoil ball and put it on a salt shaker where I can drape my piece over. You can just kind of use anything you have around that lets you have kind of that drapey shape with a circular top. And then I'm going to use my tools and start just kind of folding those creases down and working that around to make it look kind of like the folded sheet of a little ghost. Using my stylus tool to smooth out any imperfections and just kind of keep working that around, making sure that it's going to sit well on a flat surface like I like. You can kind of kick up some of the bottom pieces to make it look really flowy. Now if you just want to make the ghost, you can stop there and skip to the end to finish it up, but I'm going to show you how to make a pumpkin and a gourd to go with our little ghost. I'm just taking another small piece of clay, working it, again, making it soft and pliable so that I can mold it. I'm going to take about half of this and use it to make my pumpkin, rolling it into a ball, getting it nice and round, and then kind of squishing it flat on the top, using that dotting tool to make indentations in the top and the bottom. Then I'm going to use my carving tool to go around and score some lines around the from the top to the bottom around the entire edge of the little pumpkin shape. And I do have these tools linked in my Amazon shop if this is something that you need. Kind of using the straight line there to just set the lines, and then a deeper carving tool to make that indentation. And you can really make as many lines as you want there. I'm using my little ball tool to kind of smooth that out, and then I'm going to make a stem. So I'm just kind of rolling it into sort of an oval, elongated shape, and then I'm going to smush the end to make the base of the stem and use the pointed tool to lightly just kind of pull that down and make some little lines in that to make it look like kind of a woody stem, and also stick to the pumpkin, and then flatten out the top, give it a little bit more lines for just contour and detail. And here's what the stem looks like. If you get it a little too tall, you can just nip the top off, and I'll show you that later when I'm doing the gourd, because that's what I had to do. And for the little spirally vine, I'm making just a long skinny piece, and then I'm gonna just keep twisting it until I get a few coils, and I'm going to attach it to my stem using that same tool, just kind of poking that in. And now for the gourd, I'm going to make another elongated shape and just kind of flatten that bottom piece out, make sure it sits up well, and kind of just roll the top a little bit smaller so that it gets kind of skinnier as it goes up. It kind of looks like an earplug. I use the dotting tool to just make that indentation in the top so that I can attach my stem. And I'm making my stem the same way as I did the pumpkin, maybe a little smaller because it is skinnier at the top. And then I'm just using that pointed tool to sculpt it a little, make it look like the stem, make some little lines, and shaping everything up. And there's where I'm cutting that top piece off. And this is the gourd shape that I came up with. Now it's pretty easy to apply it to our ghost. It's kind of sticky, so I just apply some light pressure in the places where I want it to be, and it pretty much just sticks on right there. Now I'm going to use my dotting tool to sculpt out the eyes and the mouth. It didn't really want to poke through with one hand, so off camera I went ahead and poked them all the way through. I'm going to take that foil ball out, and I like to set mine on top of a ceramic tile and parchment paper. Then pop it into the toaster oven. You can use a regular oven too, and I'm going to cook it for about an hour at 260 degrees. Once it's finished baking, I am going to cover the entire piece with a layer of Mod Podge. Now this is optional, but I just feel like it gives it a nice even coat. It makes it a little smoother and easier to kind of spread the paint around if you're going to be blending, or if you kind of need to wipe away maybe a mistake that you made. Then I'm using acrylic paint in black, cinnamon, terracotta, burnt umber, yellow, greenscape, and white. I'm going to start by using a small brush to paint the inside of the eyes and mouth black, and then also painting the inside so that it's shadowed when you look through the eyes from the outside. Then I'm going to cover the whole thing in a coat of white. Now this is optional, you can just do the ghost white if you want, but I just go ahead and do the pumpkin and gourd too to give it a nice even base coat. I just cover all of the sides with the white. For the pumpkin, I'm going to start with this cinnamon color and paint the whole base of the pumpkin. Being careful not to get it on the other pieces. If you do, you can kind of fudge it and cover it up, but it's best if you can try to avoid it. But it is a tight space in some of those areas. But I'm just going to cover that whole pumpkin with a base of the cinnamon. And then here I'm going to go in with some highlights of the terracotta just to give it some kind of layers and detailed interest. I'm making kind of a mustardy color out of this yellow and cinnamon mixed together for the gourd, and then mixing a little of that greenscape and yellow to kind of give it some green highlights. Sorry, I keep kind of getting off camera. I'm not used to recording something so close up. And you can see there I was using some white to kind of touch up where I got some paint onto my ghost. Now I'm using the burnt umber for my stem and the vine pieces. And I'm also going to add some to my piece in the creases and along the bottom to kind of just give it that kind of dirty look. You can go as light or as dark as you want here. I probably got a little darker than I intended, but that's okay. I still think it's cute. Now I'm going to use some more of that dark brown color to kind of tap into the folds of the ghost to create some shadows. This is optional. You don't have to do this. You can leave it solid white if you want, but I just wanted to add a little detail to it. And then I'm going to go over that with some more white just to kind of tone it down, make it look more shadowy, not such a solid color, kind of blend it a little bit. That's just going to give it some detail and some interest, but like I said, it's totally optional. If you want to leave yours plain white, you can. Now that it's all painted, I'm going to give it a light layer of Mod Podge so it can be protected. And that's all there is to it. Once it dries, it's ready to display. I will link my Amazon store in the comments so that you can see the supplies that I used to make it. And I hope this inspired you to get a little crafty.